Stuff. All right, so Todd, we are back to kind of hobnobbing with people, getting out there and networking and things like that. Um, and being in a room full of strangers can be intimidating. It could be overwhelming, and it can be very difficult. How do I network, and what is considered a good connection, and how do I get people's names, phone numbers, and emails? And so this tactic is actually something that I specifically use no matter what event that I'm at. And I'm at an event where there could be a couple hundred people and I don't know anyone. So how do I utilize that time, and how do I take advantage of that time instead of walking away going, I got nothing and I just wasted 2 hours of my day or an hour of my day and so forth. So first one, I call it shrinking the room. Regardless of how many people are in a room, regardless of how many people you know or how many people you don't know, you have to shrink the room. And first of all, the way that the most important thing that I do is I determine ahead of time of how many connections I want to make. If I'm showing up to an event that's 2 hours long and it's strictly networking, I may say I want to walk away with 3 connections. And therefore, I don't have to worry about the other 97 people there. I'm just shrinking the room, and I've set a specific goal of how many people I want to connect with. So it alleviates the stress. I don't have to meet and connect with everyone in the room. I don't have to. I just need to connect with X amount of people. And for me, and we train our team in today's day and age, handing out business cards, and if that's all you do, it's not a huge win. If you walk in with 100 business cards and you walk out with none, but you don't have anyone's name, phone number, and email, you didn't win. You didn't win. And so I say, if you walk into a room of 100 strangers, and this is for our introverts that are listening right now, if I walk into a room of 100 strangers, I don't need to feel overwhelmed or intimidated. I just need to reach my goal.
Yeah, I like 2 things about what you said in this. Not that there weren't more takeaways, but the 2 things that I attached to was that you said set yourself a goal. That I think is hugely important. And then when you said 3, and it was out of 100, I don't think our average agent would think 3 is a good number. And the reason I liked it was because it was manageable. It was accomplishable. You could do that, in a big room like that. It doesn't put so much pressure on you. I'd imagine one of these of your other 2 topics are going to include some kind of scripting or some kind of
Not really.
no. Okay. Well, so the point that I would just like to say here is last couple of weeks, Mike, we've been talking to people about, well, actually not the last couple, I haven't been here, but the weeks before that, we were talking about the fact that, people should log into aaronline.com and actually subscribe for late breaking news. The same thing with the Department of Real Estate, same thing with NAR. And let me just share, the easiest way to win a room is to ask a lot of questions about what other people do. That there's no misunderstanding. That's the way to win the room. However, if there's other realtors in a room, which there is a high probability there may be, how do you separate yourself apart from those other realtors? My personal opinion is when you open up your mouth, you let your brains fall out. And the problem is you can't regurgitate on people, but you have to say something that's so impactful and that they identify with the fact that A, it's unique, and B, you're speaking about it on a higher plane, a higher level than the rest of the agents. Instead of using me, it's, oh, by the way, did you hear about they're extending the national flood insurance premium? And somebody goes, well, what's that? And so again, it's just a new topic.
Second thing is, and you can't always do it. Depending on where I go, I'll research ahead of timer. It's supposed to be research ahead of time. Depending on where I'm going and what event I'm going to be at, chances are I might know some of the people there, or they might be an extension of my sphere of influence. So I want to do, especially with housewarming parties, we do a lot of housewarming parties for our clients where we're going to be meeting a bunch of their family and friends and kids' ball games and things like that. I try to do as much as I can. Who is going to be there? If I've RSVP'd through a Facebook event, okay, I can go on there and see who else is RSVP'd. If an RSVP list is available, I want to check it out. So I want to research some of these people on social media. Who are my candidates? We use Forewarn all the time for this.
Awesome.
I learn a lot. Going back to social media, I spend a lot more time on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn's going to tell me possibly what they do for a living, income levels, and so forth. But I utilize forewarn. If I got an excuse me, I got an idea where they live, and or forewarn tells me they got multiple properties. I'm going to go on Monsoon. I'm going to check it out, see when they bought it, possibly how much equity that they have. And so if I've got, so we say shrink the room and to make it a goal, my goal might actually be, here's 3 to 5 specific people now that I'm going to seek out. They meet my buy box. And because I'm not going to say nothing's worse, but you're in a networking event, you spend 30 minutes talking to somebody, and then you find out at the end of the conversation they just filed for bankruptcy last week. It's not going to do you a lot of good.
No, I get it. And another angle I thought you were going to go at with that was if you know somebody who's going to be there on that list, and you aren't the kind of person that is going to strategically, as Mike just described, identify suspects in the room that you want to have those conversations and gain some information and rapport with, the next best way to do it is ask somebody that you know to introduce you to somebody they know. And so as a result, or better off even starting ahead of time when you get there, go over to the person that you do know and say, hey, do you have any goals for today's meeting? And they may even go, what do you mean goals? But then again, they may say, yeah, my goal is to meet 3 people I don't know. Well, if I can introduce you to 3 people you don't know, would you introduce me to 3 people you do?
Great idea.
And so from that perspective, you just shrunk the room.
All right, and then defining what a good connection is. Like I said, handing out business cards, and if that's all you do, is not a huge win. So for me, a good connection is somebody that I've had a meaningful conversation with about real estate. Because obviously I'm in real estate, and those are the types of conversations I want to be having with them. Have I collected their name, phone number, and email if possible? If again, it's like when we do open houses. If you do an open house and you haven't collected anyone's name, phone number, and email address, you've pretty much wasted a good afternoon. That's why we have registration cards and so forth. And then establish a deliverable, something to follow up with. It might even be setting an appointment, or you're going to give them some more information, or you're going to set them on a search, or you're going to send them your mobile app. But it's you want to shrink the room. You want to identify how many people do I want to connect with, and then you need to. And this is just the way that I define what a good connection is for me.
Yeah, I think it's great. As we've always said, even our fearless leader CEO has always said, don't be a secret agent. You can't go into a room and just have a good time necessarily and walk away with real estate business because you didn't let anybody know what you do. So being able to interject some of those things, and Mike, for years you've done a real good job about talking to people about, just bringing up the terminology of investing, because that separates you from the rest of the pack, and they don't have to worry about, they might have just moved into a house and they're not interested in the next 5 years, but what's something that they may be currently interested in, even right after just moving into their primary residence, is buying an investment property. So
Absolutely.
Some good stuff.
All right. And you brought up a good point earlier. It's the next step is developing those conversation starters, but it is a 3-pack. So anyways,